Hello, MSOE fans, and welcome to the Raider Report, where we sit down with MSOE coaches to discuss all things Raider athletics, from game reactions to recruiting news and everything in between. The Raider Report has all the behind-the-scenes details and news you want. And I'm joined by the new head baseball coach here at MSOE, Adrian Santiago. Coach, how you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Let's get right into it. Thanks for taking the time to join me today. And obviously, you're just getting started here at MSOE, wrapping up month number one. But let's take it all the way back. Let's start with your playing days. Take me through your journey as a player back in the day. What was Little League like? Were you the stud back then?
Yeah, so I started in the Chicago Park Districts. Travel ball really wasn't a big thing. So we grew up playing in the inner city of Chicago. I had a great experience. We won a lot of games. We were that team that just didn't lose in T-ball and stuff like that until they tried to separate us and then all that good stuff. But, I grew up in the city, played in the Chicago Park Districts till I was about 13. And then when my dad moved to the suburbs, he signed me up for travel ball for the first time, which was still not like what travel ball is known as today.
Sure.
It was the feeder program into our high school. Right. So that was fun. It was a challenge. You start to kind of see where you're at against other kids and realize you got to put in a little bit of extra work and to compete against higher level kids, get into high school. And then high school, I played some baseball and some basketball and then focused on baseball. Was not the best player early on in high school and stuff, and ended up deciding to go junior college because I had a couple teammates that were already there. So I went to Oakton Community College. Had a tremendous experience there. A lot of winning. It was a nationally ranked program at the time. We played with kids from all over the world, honestly. We had kids from Colombia, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, all that stuff there. So it was an eye-opening experience again there. And then, it was kind of a weird ending to my junior college career. I got walked off on. It ended our season. I was down in the dumps, and it was like, and I was always the closer, so it was, you're always in that position, and it was a tough end to sophomore year, and was bouncing around, and left to play summer ball in Wyoming.
Okay.
So I went to play summer ball in Wyoming. Was talking to a few schools, and kept in contact with Webster. And when I came back from Wyoming, I drove out there and decided to attend Webster University in St. Louis. And that was probably the best decision I ever made right there. That changed my career completely. Again, a very well-known program, a powerhouse at the Division III level. Their facilities were awesome. Coach Courage sold me on the dream of winning championships and stuff like that. I still remember his text. He was like, "We want you here to win championships," and that sold me. So went there. We won 2 conference championships. Went to the regional 2 times. Got to pitch in the College World Series. And senior year, had a tremendous end to my career. Was our closer again and broke some records. Saw a lot of success, and obviously going to the World Series. Those guys are now like brothers to me. So it was an awesome experience, an awesome way to end my career.
For sure. It's also just funny talking about like what travel ball has become, because like I feel like when we were kids, travel ball was just like, okay, the good kids, when Little League is done, keep playing for a little bit. They go play travel. Now it's like kids don't even play Little League anymore. They're just on these travel ball teams year round. It's just crazy how it's done a complete 180.
Correct.
Talk to me a little bit. You said you headed out to Wyoming to play summer ball.
Yeah.
After that tough way to end the junior college career, what was your mindset heading out west? Was that like a last hurrah type thing? Like, if this is it, this is it?
No, I had interest all throughout junior college from schools. Okay. I was just mentally down in the dumps, obviously with that end. And the year before I went to Wyoming, I played in Oregon. So at that point, I wasn't the best baseball player where I could play in leagues like the Northwoods.
Okay.
That's here in Wisconsin. So I was kind of using it to see different parts of the country. So,
Sure.
Freshman year went to Oregon, and then my mindset going out to Wyoming was I was just going to try and fall in love with baseball again. And that's exactly what happened. I still talk to those guys from that team all the time. It was unbelievable experience. We played really good baseball. We almost won the whole thing as the last seed in the tournament. So
that's crazy.
It was awesome. In my last appearance there, I had a no-hitter through like 6 innings. So that was like okay, I can still do this, So
Sure.
it was a good experience. It was exactly what I needed following the hard ending to the junior college career.
For sure. And I think junior college in and of itself, unless you've watched like something like Last Chance U on Netflix, it's something a lot of people really don't know about.
Yeah.
It's kind of a foreign world of college sports.
It is.
What was that like for you as a baseball player too? Because that's something I have no insight into.
Yeah, it was very different. You're around a lot of different individuals when you're there. I had really good grades, so I didn't go there for any other reason than I really wanted to play baseball. I wanted to see if I could play at a higher level. And then financially, it just made a ton of sense for me and my family.
Sure.
Which what they don't tell you is that comes back to bite you after 2 years. The scholarships are way different at 4 years. But, I enjoyed it. I was around a lot of guys that really, really loved baseball. And that was their way of life. And they taught me how to work hard outside of baseball, weight room stuff, and doing things the right way there. It was just a different experience, completely different from what I got in my 4-year.
For sure.
My 4-year was far more challenging academically than my junior college. Not to say my junior college was all that easy, but just the schedule of it was a lot easier. So.
For sure. Looking back on it now, what was something that you weren't prepared for as a college athlete? Like I think the obvious one is the time.
Yep.
Right? Like I know getting there my 3rd day of fall camp in football, I was like, oh, this is what it's like?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm cut out for this anymore. Give mom and dad a call and second guess myself.
Time management was definitely the biggest thing my first semester in college. Once I got that sorted, it was pretty easy, and then I had to do it again at Webster because it was just a much harder. I was taking a lot more classes, a lot more challenging classes, so spending more time in the library studying and stuff. So the time management stuff and prioritizing, knowing what to prioritize and in what order. Academics, baseball, your social life. You obviously want to have friends and spend time with the guys.
Yep.
So that stuff was pretty challenging because in high school it's just it's all set up for you. You don't really have to make decisions. It's just show up, go to class. There you're making decisions on what classes to take, what time you want to take them. So I made the conscious decision after first semester that I was going to take all the earliest classes, be done as early as possible. Yep. So I had the rest of my day to do my homework, study, lift, and then hopefully be done after practice.
Smart guy. I was always the same way. Like, sign me up for the 8 a.m. Get me done before noon. And then I think by the time I got to senior year, I was like, okay, I don't need the 8 a.m. Like, I'll do 9. I can do 9, but, like, I do want that extra, like, half hour of sleep at this point. No. But that's there's no other way to do it, I feel like. Because if you give yourself, what are you really doing with that 3 hours in the morning before you, like, actually start putting in work in class or whatever?
It's some bad habits get developed there when you do start taking those later classes.
Exactly.
And we've seen it. At Webster, we had a thing called the Breakfast Club where all of our freshmen that were on campus had to meet for breakfast between 7:30 and 8:30, regardless of when we started class.
Sure.
A lot of the times you see guys get in the habit where they're sleeping in, they're not eating that first important meal of the day, and they're going straight to class, straight from class to lifting. They might have 2 slices of pizza and then off to practice, and they're losing weight. So learning stuff like that was important for sure.
For sure. And even the mental side of it, to me, like, if I sleep in, like, I'm not mentally on the same level. Like, I remember thinking at some point, like, after we'd have, morning lifting, meetings, go through class, I was like, maybe I'll take like a little hour nap before practice. I realized very quickly I cannot nap before practice because it's like running at 60% when you get on the field.
I found that out as well.
It's a tough wake-up call and disappointing when you find out you can't be one of those guys. I was always envious of the dudes who were like asleep in their locker and then could roll out to practice 10 minutes later and perform. Oh.
Yeah, those guys had it made for sure.
So I think we talked about it a little bit when we first met, but was coaching always the plan for you? And when did you know you wanted to be a coach and start pursuing it?
Yeah, coaching was not always the plan. I still remember fall of my senior year, my head coach at Webster came up to me and asked if I had any interest, and I said I would see. And then obviously I had a really good year, senior year, and I was trying to pursue baseball a little bit. So I played in the Northwoods, trying to pursue some independent ball stuff. And then I saw a posting for a GA spot at Quincy University. And I had gone through these interviews for jobs and stuff. And really didn't. I had offers, but nothing where I was like, oh, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Sure.
So sat down with my mom and I was like, hey, I think I'm going to go get my master's paid for and then give myself some time to figure out exactly what it is I want to do. So I went to Quincy University in Quincy, Illinois. Head coach there started his career at St. Joseph's College, which is where my head coach started his head coaching career in Rensselaer, Indiana. And year one was interesting. Year one was COVID, so
Okay.
We were about 16 games in, I want to say, and then COVID hit. Still remember it like it was yesterday when we found out like the NBA canceled on Wednesday. Thursday our season was canceled, and so I was kind of scrambling, trying to figure out what to do, and I ended up getting an internship back home in my field of study in finance and sales.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, and it was during COVID, so it was hybrid. It was kind of later on in COVID, so this was like June, July, August. So people were starting to go into like hybrid roles where they were in the office a couple days a week and then working from home. And I would go into the office, and there was nobody in the office. I was just sitting there at my desk doing work, and then I'd be done with all my work and waiting for somebody to tell me something to do, but there was nothing to do.
Yep.
And I remember I told my mom, I was like, yeah, this is not going to be for me. So I made the conscious decision, like right then and there. I remember calling again my coach from Webster. I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go into coaching. So the next year was awesome. We returned all these guys from the COVID year. We made a regional. We had a 6th-round draft pick by the Cubs. I'm a Cubs fan, unfortunately, for people around here, but
lucky you.
Yeah. So that was an awesome thing to see, and I really enjoyed myself. And things just kind of worked out. And the head assistant job opened up at Webster, so I was able to go back. And that was the first like full coaching job right there.
For sure. If I could play devil's advocate, do you think there is any way that the finance world could have lured you in fully? Like, do you think if people were in the office, you could have stayed around, or if you had fully remote working and you were able to work from home, would that have kept you around? Or were you always missing something?
Yeah, I would say I was probably always missing something, but I think it definitely could. I probably could have been swayed if there was more interaction with people. I like to talk to people. I like to be around people. So I would say there would be a chance. The money was great, but that just goes to show that it isn't everything, you know. So I'm sure if it was kind of a different internship or probably something more up my alley that I was looking for, I probably could have been swayed. But at the end of the day, obviously I don't regret it because I'm here now. But
exactly.
Yeah, it all worked out.
So talk to me a little bit about your coaching philosophy, if you will. We talked before we went on the air. A lot of people say managers can't win games, but they can lose them. I'm not sure if we agree with that statement, but what's your approach on game day? Is it let the boys go out there and play? Do you want to be really hands-on? Is it, okay, guys, here's the plan, sharing it with them? Talk me through it.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty loose on certain things with game day stuff. I mean, we're going to have our scouting reports. We're going to know exactly what we're looking for and what our approach should be going into those games. So it's a process before the game that leads up to making sure that we're prepared. I believe, you can never be over prepared or too prepared. So having a game plan leading up to the actual game throughout the week is huge for us. But I also think we don't want to make robots. We want our guys to be athletes. We want them to trust their instincts and stuff like that. In game, when you talk about controlling the game, where at my previous stops, we did a lot of, holding runners. And that was a big thing for us in controlling the run game as a pitching staff and executing that kind of stuff, pickoffs, all that stuff. So on that side of things, I am big on that. Offensively, it's a pitch by pitch thing. You got to read the situation and make the right call. College baseball has changed a lot in the last few years. I saw a thread recently. It was talking about what the average ERA in baseball was from like 2019 until now, and it's gone up over like a run and a half.
Dang.
And people say that bats are hot, the balls are hot. Regardless, more runs are being scored at a more alarming rate. The long balls, every year you're hearing guys break home run records as a team or as an individual. So the game has changed a lot. When I was a player, when we went to our World Series, it was all pitching and defense. We were like second in the country in ERA and second in fielding percentage. And the last 3 years at Webster, we had one of the best. We broke our offensive records 3 years in a row. But we were in the So trying to find what we do well is going to be very important for us this fall, especially, and then trying to play to our strengths and not play into teams' weaknesses. I don't like getting away from what we do well, so that's a big thing for me.
So you talked about how runs are going up. We're seeing obviously a lot more long balls, a lot more home runs. In the major leagues, we're seeing more home runs, but we also see a lot more strikeouts.
Yep.
Do you think that wave is coming at the college game, or is that harder because a lot of these arms get snatched up by major league teams?
I think it's already here at the college level. The statistics specifically, obviously, the most of the data is for Division I. But if you just take Division I and look at it, and it's trickled down to our level as well. But runs are up, batting average is up, but like you said, strikeouts are up. Development has completely changed. Like we were talking about travel ball stuff and all that, right? Like that plays a role in it. Kids are getting better at younger ages. 90 miles an hour today is not what 90 miles an hour was back then.
Sure.
If you were throwing 90 in the early 2000s, even the 90s, you're probably a prospect.
Yeah.
It's not surprising to see guys that throw in the 90s end up at Division III schools these days.
Yeah.
And we've seen it. More of those guys end up being developed at our level than anything. They don't come in throwing 90, but you are seeing some kids come in throwing 90 miles an hour at our level, which obviously we as coaches love.
Yeah.
That's just the trickle-down effect of the transfer portal and all this stuff that has changed college athletics and the landscape of it.
So tell me, what does a typical practice week look like for you from a planning standpoint? Are you giving guys a ton of time off in between games? Are you keeping, at least something every single day, keeping the guys locked in? Talk me through a week in your eyes.
Yeah, so during the season, like in the spring season, typically we're going 6 days a week.
Okay.
So with our schedule, the way we play Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, we'll typically take our Sundays off.
Okay.
But there's always those days where it's like a Monday reset. If we're not playing Tuesday, obviously it's kind of like a field day. We got to do what we can to get ready, talk more about the game plan, what we're seeing tomorrow arm-wise, what to expect. But then you have those days where you're working on, after the Tuesday or Wednesday game, we're going back and looking at our mistakes. Was it base running mistakes? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? And how can we improve that? So during the season, a lot of coaches are different on this, but I think there's always room for improvement. You're not making drastic changes, but you're looking at what can we improve on a week-by-week basis and continue to elevate our game and our program so that our guys are not just, doing the same thing over and over and fall into the routine of, okay, well, if this didn't work, it's all good. We're still going to keep doing this and see if it changes. Sometimes you got to make changes. So the practice schedule is always dependent upon how we play, what we need to work on, what we're seeing as coaches, and kind of go from there.
So then let me ask you, as someone who's, a little bit outside of the baseball realm then, when it comes to like chopping up film, watching tape, stuff like that, is that something where you're bringing the whole team in at once and you guys are all watching it together? Is it something you're breaking down as a coaching staff and then approaching players individually like, hey, this is what we're seeing, that show with them? How does that work?
Fortunately for me, I've been at every level, and it's been different at every level that I've coached at. So there's a lot more resources at the Division I level. So we used to be able to send video to kids. There was a lot more stuff available. At our level, it's more the coaches are watching the live stream of whatever the last game was, unless they're on this app called Synergy, which cuts video for people, and you can search guys up and find video on there. And then we're kind of going up individually and talking to guys about things. It's in our scouting report, and we're letting them know what to expect, what they like to do in certain counts to righties and lefties, and that kind of stuff.
I was going to say, it's got to be much more difficult as a baseball player because it's really, you have 1 to 2 guys who are going to be on the camera at once. It's not like you have 11 football players and 11 guys are taking from it. If you have 30 guys in a room and 2 are on the screen, how much takeaway can you really get from that? So, all right, we're going to break this up. We're going to go to everyone's favorite segment, Raider Rapid Fire. Kept you on your toes, kept you in the dark here. If you were a NASCAR driver and you got complete creative control in your car, what color, what number, what sponsor?
Okay. Well, I'm an F1 guy, so.
F1 car. We'll go with that.
Off of that. So, what number?
Yeah.
I don't even think they have numbers, but I guess I would go with probably 21.
Okay.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'd go with number 1. That was what I wore in college. And then color. Oh man, probably I don't want to say red because that'd be cliche, but probably something bright, like a bright orange or electric yellow or green or something.
All right, you're not doing like matte black or you want to stand out.
Yeah,
okay.
Stand out.
And then what sponsor is getting plastered all over that bad boy?
What sponsor? This is a tough one. Probably Nike. I wear everything Nike. So
you're not the first person to say Nike.
Nike's probably the safe bet. If not Audi, I like cars in general. So
if you lead the Audi F1 team, that'd be pretty hard. That'd be pretty hard. All right, you said you're a little bit of a cook. Cooking runs in the family. If you were having people over for an occasion, what are you cooking for dinner, lunch, whatever it might be? If you're hosting people, what can you pull off?
Oh man, how many people are we talking?
Let's say let's say 5-6 people.
5-6.
Yeah, it's not like it's a whole 10, 20, but just like a few people.
I'm a big homemade mac and cheese, filet mignon kind of guy.
Okay. All right.
So we like to get a little fancy with that stuff. If it's like a day where we're just hanging out and on the patio or something, like yesterday I went to my buddies and we grilled and stuff. We were making some skirt steak tacos and throwing some burgers on the grill and keeping it simple. But it really just depends on how fancy I want to get with the cooking.
Okay. So, and then you spent some time down in Chicago in the Evanston area at Northwestern, obviously. You have a favorite spot to eat in the city?
Yeah, there's this place in Evanston called Taco Diablo.
Okay.
And it is awesome.
What's the order when you go to Taco Diablo?
Oh man, it's like their chicken tikka, pork carnitas, and their barbacoa taco.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got like a bacon taco. It's awesome. They've got some unique tacos in there.
Okay, I'll have to go check that out next time I'm home.
Yeah, the drink of the house is like unique as well.
Okay.
It's called a Yes Please. I don't know what's in it, but it tastes like juice. So
all right,
that's what everybody talks about when you go there.
Heck yeah. All right, if they were gonna make a movie about your life, whether it would be a comedy or a drama, whatever it is, what's the one scene that has to be in that movie?
One scene. Probably there used to be this park in Chicago called Dillon's Park, and it was owned by the Cubs. And it used to be where all of our big tournaments and games were for Chicago Park District. And one day, all my family came to watch me play, and I was all excited. I told them I was going to hit a home run no matter what. And I hit a ball into the gap, and I was running towards third base, and I looked up and I could see my family like cheering. And I wasn't paying attention to my coach at all. And he was telling me to stop, and I just blew the stop sign and kept running. And I got to home plate, and I was safe, and I was celebrating and everything. And then I got benched, and I was like, okay, I probably got to learn how to reel it in here.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like an eye-opening moment. I was all excited and stuff as a kid, but that was a funny moment in my baseball career.
I could see that being in a movie, though. That's like a great actual scene. That's fun.
It was fun.
Alrighty, we just had Summerfest the past few weekends up here in Milwaukee. If you were in charge of putting on the music festival, and they said, hey, you have carte blanche, you can put every single act on, who are you putting on Sunday night to send everyone home? Who is the A1 headliner?
Gosh. I've been listening to a lot of country recently, so I'd probably go with the cliche of Zach Bryan or Morgan Wallen right now.
Okay.
For the Sunday send-off, I think that would fit the Milwaukee vibes a little bit.
For sure.
Here. So that would probably be who I'd put to send everybody home.
Yeah,
I listen to just literally about every genre. If you shuffled my phone, you'd be like, how are you going from this to this?
Yeah, no, if you hit shuffle on my phone, you think I have like schizophrenia or something. It's absurd the range that you can go from.
Same.
And then growing up, favorite athlete, you said you were a Cubs fan, right?
Yeah.
So was it like Mark Pryor?
Oh man, I grew up watching a lot of the 2003 Cubs, 2004 Cubs with all the drama. So like, I was a big Aramis Ramirez fan. I was a big Sammy Sosa fan.
For sure.
Those were the guys I grew up watching. My favorite player ended up being Tim Lincecum.
Okay, the freak.
Yeah,
all right, hell
yeah. He ended
yeah.
up being my favorite player to watch and emulate, and he was just so different. And he was kind of ahead of his time, throwing 100 miles an hour as a starting pitcher. You know,
as a 5'9", 180 pound.
He was just a freak. So he was definitely someone that I admired like for a long time growing up. Like outside of the Cubs players, like that was probably the first player that really grabbed my attention, and I watched like intently as a kid and tried to do what he would do.
For sure. I feel like, at least growing up in the Chicagoland area, like the first baseball player you know of, at least for kids our generation, is Sammy Sosa.
Yeah.
That was the first baseball player you ever knew, whether you're a Cubs fan, Sox fan, who plays baseball, Sammy Sosa. Like, easy. But Tim Lincecum, that was a short period of time because he kind of flamed out fast at the end. But I mean, he was on the cover of the video game. The wind-up was sick. Once they started adding the wind-up to the video game, it was like, damn, this guy is Cy Young's World Series. Like,
he was awesome.
Underratedly cool. Like, doesn't get talked about enough because he probably didn't have the longevity. But man,
he's in my eyes a Hall of Famer just for what he did in his short stint and winning those World Series, the Cy Youngs. I mean, he was just untouchable for 4 years.
And a great ESPN This Is Sports Center commercial where he's trying to create his
voice.
One
of the best ones, that's for sure.
So then tell me, how did you fill out the rest of your coaching staff? What has this first month been like for you?
Yeah, so Jared Cantu came from Benedict. He was at Benedictine last semester. He came highly recommended. We had ran into each other a couple times when he was at Birmingham Southern, who unfortunately just closed. They just had the Cinderella run. They did a documentary on them and stuff, so he can't stop talking about it. But they went to the College World Series twice in his time there, and he knows what a winning program looks like. He knows what it takes. And then Kobe Moe, our pitching coach, came by way of Western Kentucky and Northwestern, so he played for me at Northwestern.
Okay.
Kobe's one of the most genuine people I've been around. He's very, very knowledgeable as a pitching guy because he's been able to be around some really, really smart minds in the pitching game. And he had his best season ever as an athlete just this past year. So he understands the trials and tribulations of being a pitcher and having success and not having success and how to find that.
Sure.
Baseball is, in my opinion, 99% mental and 1% physical, or however you want to break it down. But those guys have been doing a great job. I mean, the first month's been a lot, obviously. Big change with being the guy to basically set up everything, set expectations, and make sure all our guys have all the stuff they need. And our motto on our team right now is person over player. We want our guys to know that we care about them as people first and baseball players second. And we want to build that type of culture in our locker room. And a lot of them have said that that's what it was like before they had a brotherhood. They felt very close. But then they talked a lot about the similar issues that I had at Webster is with COVID, you were having 18-year-olds playing with 24-year-olds. And that's a different, you're kind of in different parts of your life. You got guys with full-time jobs playing baseball with 18-year-olds who are just getting college. So I'm excited to kind of get back to a normal age range in baseball. I think that'll bring the locker rooms a little bit closer together and stuff like that. So I'm excited.
It's always one thing, because we would always have a few guys like that in our locker room for football, 1 or 2 guys a season who it's like, oh, this guy he's a nursing major and he's leaving practices early and putting the scrubs on, or this guy is a grad transfer and he's working a 9 to 5 showing up for practice. Like it's just crazy when people are at different parts of their life like that. But
absolutely.
Going back to your staff, tell me, like, psychologically, if you will, do you want guys who see the game the exact way you do? Do you want guys who see it differently so that you have that outside voice in your ear? How did you go about picking those 2 guys?
So I knew first, with me being a pitching guy, I first and foremost wanted to have an offensive guy that kind of matched what I like, but also was different in a sense. Jared won a Gold Glove as a center fielder at North Park, so defense is very important to him on both sides of the ball, and offensively, I like to run a lot. I came from a program where just this past year we stole over 120 bags, and that's my MO. I like guys that are fast. I like guys that can steal bags, and I like making teams uncomfortable at all times.
Sure.
And we kind of clicked on that stuff. We like to put pressure on the other teams. A lot of people think that means bunting. No, there's a lot of ways to add pressure to teams, So he matched me right on with that. And then Kobe was an easy guy to hire because he's eager. He wanted to coach. He actually called me long before I got this job asking about coaching. And I wanted a young, eager guy that was going to attack it head on and one that could kind of bounce ideas off each other. And he's got more of that new school approach in pitching, and I'm more of that old school approach.
Sure.
In development side, so it was a good combination there. And then we're actually having 3 alumni help out as well. So Tyler Groner will be helping out. Micah will be helping out, and Nolan Vincent will be helping out as well.
That's a great crew to have helping out.
Yeah. So we're excited. We've met with them. We've met with quite a few alumni, and we're just ecstatic to get going and get to meet everybody and get the guys here and just get going. I know the guys are excited, and we're just ready to see what we've got and what we can accomplish here.
Hell yeah. So you're obviously a younger coach. You've been coaching for a few years now. Is it ever hard to gain players' respect? I imagine like when you were coaching at Webster, some of those guys, were teammates not too long ago. And now all of a sudden you have like, not a crazy level, but you have some like authority over them. Is it ever hard to get the respect of younger guys when they sometimes might look at you as more of a peer than a coach?
Early on in my career, for sure. I learned that real quick. I had a bit of a reality check early on as a GA because I was so close to the age of these guys. They were either my age or a year younger, and then I was out like there was guys that were that age. And then when I got to Webster, in my first stint before Northwestern, it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, but it was tough because I had a bunch of my friends there. That guys that I hung out with, guys that I was close with their family, so we had to kind of draw the line. And they honestly made it easier because they made sure that all the younger guys knew that I wasn't the front. I was there to help them become better baseball players. And then I would say this last year was like the big year where I had no teammates there, and you could feel I felt the change in like myself, and my relationship with the players was far different than it was in previous years.
Sure.
And that also happened the year before at Northwestern. 2 years ago at Northwestern was kind of when I felt that change. I was taking on more of a role, and guys were looking at me differently because I was making a lot more decisions for them. And I gained their respect in that way. But it is tough when you're a young coach and you get it right into coaching. It's especially if you're going to your alma mater. That's even tougher because you're hanging around guys that you used to hang out with all the time.
Yeah.
So overall, it honestly made me a better coach. It taught me a lot about relationships with players and how to develop those. And that's something I always harp on, and you always hear me talk about is relationships with players. That's very important to me, is making sure I have a good relationship with all my players.
Before we let you get out of here, Coach, I'm just going to ask you to drop one thing on the people that they need to check out this summer. It could be a movie, a restaurant, a spot to go sightseeing. What do you got for the people?
Oh, man.
What do they need to do before this summer wraps up?
Before the summer wraps up, I can't say anything about Milwaukee because I don't know much about Milwaukee.
Haven't been here long enough to really make a verdict.
The Riverwalk's been great for me and my dogs. Something to check out.
You watching anything good on TV?
I'm not. I am excited to go watch the new Deadpool and Wolverine movie.
Okay, I went and saw that on Thursday. Yeah. I had a blast.
Yeah,
how could you not?
I'm really excited to see that. That'd be the movie I'd recommend. There's a country artist that I'm really, really in with right now. It's called Dylan Gossett. That's coming to Milwaukee November 20th. So
okay,
that's something I'm definitely gonna go see. So
I'll have to check that out. I've never heard of him. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to chat with me today, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck as you get your footing here at MSOE.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me again.
Thank you for tuning into the Raider Report, and thank you to Coach Trees for taking the time to talk to us. You can follow Raider Athletics on YouTube at MSOE Raider Athletics, and you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MSOE_Raiders. Don't forget to find us on Spotify too. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, repost, share, and get the word out to all your Raider friends and family. We want you to be heard. Mention us on social media and tell us what you want to hear about. Go Raiders!